Hello there. I want to talk to you a minute or three about classical conditioning. And this is not new to you, but this is a major thing to consider in behavior. And that's what I want to talk to you just a few minutes about. And I'm going to use Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov has worked with dogs and their salivation. Just to refresh your memory, we're talking about unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response, conditioned stimulus, conditioned response, neutral stimulus, all those things that you should already be familiar with. But what you haven't been told, most likely, is that that was a very simplistic assessment by Pavlov and his crew as to what really was going on. Physiology inclusion wasn't there yet. So this discussion is going to have to do with number one, behavior, because of what the class is all about, and also some of this business of other things involved, other than dog sees food, dog sees man with food, bell rings, he salivates. Ooh, that's the end, huh? There's a lot of other stuff going on. And that's what I want to introduce you to. So let's get started. Um, the experiment, as I said, done by Pavlov, brought about these terms, unconditional stimulus, also known as US, because it's easier to say. By the way, let me remind you that condition, in this sense, in psychology, is talking about learning. So you could say unlearned stimulus if you'd like, if it makes it easier for you. So the food is an unlearned stimulus, an unconditioned stimulus, a US. Um, and it unconditionally, unlearned, elicits salivation for the purposes of the experiment or as a result of an accidental occurrence, really. The bell is a conditioned stimulus. If you remember, ding, ring a bell, dog, salivate. So the bell is known as a conditioned stimulus, CS for short, because it only elicits the salivary response conditioned on the bell slash food pairings. So the new response to the bell, um, the new response to the bell is correspondingly called the conditioned response, the learned response. While the natural response to the food is normal, I mean, that's normal for you and I, and itself is unlearned. In other words, you sort of know you got to eat, right? It's built into you anyway. You're born with the need to eat. But the idea is that you have to learn things like what to eat, etc. Or you learn it when you smell something in the kitchen. It's time to eat. Your stomach tells you it's time to eat. So it becomes conditioned. The response to the bell, in the case of Pavlov, uh, the salivation was a conditioned response. The natural response to the food in you or his dogs or anyone else is unconditioned. Eating is normal. That's what I'm trying to get across to you here. Now, what has happened to this? Culture, culture affects everything, including science. So culture has created the impression that conditioning is a very rigid affair and that it's fixed. It's a fixed event and it comes to elicit a fixed response. Conditioning is a whole lot more complex than that. It's way more dynamic than that. I'll give you an example. Signals for food can evoke a large set of responses that prepare you to digest food. So it's not just the dog salivated. There was stuff going on within this dog or within you for that matter that prepares you to eat the food. Secretion of gastric acid, pancreatic enzymes, insulin. Diabetics are very, very, very familiar with the function of insulin. And then also included in all that, the salivary response. Uh, Our subject is behavior, so check this out. The CS, the conditioned stimulus, can also elicit approach behavior, which is an increase in body temperature and a state of arousal and excitement. I don't know about you, but if you tell me I'm getting ready to go eat Mexican food, I get excited. I love it. When a signal for food is presented to a animal without food, then the animal will get up and go eat more food. Sometimes, if you have a pet, you know this to be a fact. They'll keep eating till you take it away from them. My dog will eat till he has to throw up. That's a nutty dog, but nonetheless. Hopefully we don't do that, but I know some folk do. So it's an approach to behavior. You have the signal comes forth, and these things happen in you or the animal or whatever the case is. Signals for food to evoke a whole behavior system is organized, and your body deals with the fact that it's getting ready to take on a meal. Classical conditioning is also involved in other aspects of eating. Through conditioning, through learning, humans learn to like or dislike different foods. We all know that. I won't name the ones I don't like, but doesn't matter. You know the ones you don't like. That's been conditioned into you. Flavors associated with nutrients, sugars, starches, calories, proteins, or fats are the preferred foods. Flavors that are associated with sweet tastes, they're also preferred. Why? I don't know. Flavors associated with bitter tastes are avoided. Why? It's unpleasant. That's what we're dealing with, the pleasantness, the unpleasantness of this eating business related to conditioning. You know people, I know people that eat stuff I wouldn't go near because of the yucky taste. But their conditioning was different from ours. Who knows what they went through to learn to eat that? And I got news for you. If you're hungry enough, you'll eat almost anything. Just as a sidelight, there's a school called SEER School, Search, Evasion, Rescue, and Escape, that you go through. Used to, I think they still put people through it who are in aviation, or in other branches of the military go through it as well. But combat aviation, where if you get shot down and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you avoid the jungle. They teach you how to feed yourself off the land. Grub worms, a lot of protein there, for example. Different plants that you can eat. You have to learn which ones not to eat. So taste becomes secondary. Survival becomes the ultimate goal. And stop and think about it. I'm sure if you were struggling to survive, you'd probably eat just about anything yourself. That SEER school's a week long, I think it is. I'm not sure. By the end of it, when you talk to those guys and gals, they tell you it's you get to a point where what you're eating is not important as long as you know it's good for you. It's going to keep you alive. So just a sidelight, but in line with this behavior business, what's conditioned may not necessarily be important at a given moment. Flavors that you associate with illness. Have you ever eaten something that made you sick? You didn't go back and eat it again, right? I didn't eat pinto beans for 12 years because I got sick on pinto beans when I was in the third grade, and I thought they were the yuckiest thing in the world. Drinking tequila. I'm just picking things out of the air here. Drinking booze. Hopefully, if you drink too much and you get sick, you don't ever drink again. But guess what? There are people that, hey, they learn to deal with the bad part that comes from it. So whatever the flavor is, the flavor associated with a CS can cause biological consequences. It's just a fact of life. Animals that are omnivorous need to learn about new foods. There are clinical implications for this. Chemotherapy can make patients sick, for example, and cause a conditioning an aversion to a food that was eaten recently. Had a piece of pizza, then I go to my the person goes to their chemotherapy thing and gets sick. Guess what? They're not going to eat again for a while. Uh, Ladies who are pregnant sometimes will crave a particular food, and once the pregnancy ends, they can't stand to be around that food. It's not uncommon. So uh, conditioning can enable external cues to trigger food consumption and craving, and potentially shows up as an influence in terms of overeating, uh, drug use, association with the pleasure of the initial impact of the drug, which usually is followed by stuff that's not very pleasant. Uh, and then if the unpleasantness is enough, thank goodness some people leave it alone. Unfortunately, we know that that's not always the case. So there are just a zillion and one things that you can associate with those kind of behaviors. And there's a lot of work being done in the area of this association, by the way. Uh, Ways to counteract destructive behaviors. How can we change the effect of these things, drugs, etc.? Uh, make your experience with it unpleasant if it's something that we're trying to get you to end. There's a drug that some of you probably heard of. I can't think of the name of it. Doesn't matter. It's given to people. Creates an aversion to alcohol. Every time they drink alcohol, it makes them sick on their stomach. Guess what happens? They don't drink anymore if they continue to take the medication. If they don't, guess what happens then? You go right back in to where you were. So, tolerance, things to be considered. Am I tolerant to this drug? Then we need to get you off of it because you're going to do more and more and more harm to yourself. And I'd rather make you sick than see you overdose and die. I hope this, I had a lot more notes, but I don't want to burden you with all of this. Read about this in your text. This is week 3, and I think this is chapter 9. Read about the implications of the use of, not the use of, but the presence of CSUS, CRUR, and neutral stimulus, and give you a good idea of exactly what's going on with you, more so than what Pavlov's work did. Okay, so take care.